All right, crew, here we go. Lesson 3. We're going to talk about area of a circle. So we have two formulas here. One is if we're given the radius, which is this first one. Second one is if we're given the diameter. Just to kind of remind you, if they give us the diameter, we have to divide it by 2 to really find the radius. So this is really the primary formula, one that I'll use a lot. But I just want to remind you, there is a way to look at it if they gave you diameter, in case that's something it's more simple for you to think about, so you don't have to think about it any more than you need to. So there's these two formulas we're going to use, and I'm just going to practice it with you, walk you through these examples. Remember, take your time, take notes with me, pause throughout as you need to. So let's look at this first example, finding the area of this blue circle here. So first you need to decide, are we given the radius or are we given the diameter? And guys, if we don't know it by now, maybe you have a drawing of a circle in front of you with the radius and diameter labeled. Okay, take a look at it. But you need to know the difference between radius and diameter and being able to identify it. So I'm going to tell you right now, this 7 centimeters, that is a radius. So I'm going to label that with an R so we don't forget, which means I'm going to be using that first equation. So let's write our equation down. Area equals pi times the radius squared. That's what that little 2 in the corner means. We're squaring the radius. Guys, when we're squaring it, it's like we're taking the radius and multiplying it by itself twice. So that 2 in the upper right-hand corner there, that just tells us how many r's we should have. So let's plug in what we know. Again, let's use 3.14 for pi times 7 being squared. So when you put this in the calculator, you should be doing 7 times 7, not 7 times 2. Be careful. It's telling us that we have 2 7s. So do 3.14 times 7 times 7. When you multiply those all together, so again, 7 times 7 is 49. Again, if you can do less steps in the calculator, keep fresh up on those math skills, I think it would be great. So your area should equal 153.86. Now our units, we're talking about area. We squared the 7, so it's squared units, so centimeters squared. Guys, remember area, when we're finding area, that's finding the inside, like what it would take to fill up this circle. Perimeter was the outer edge, like putting a fence up. Area is like filling in. Painting it all in, or however you want to think of it. Area is all the space inside. All right, let's look at this green circle to the right. Now we have 26 inches that's given to us. That is going from one end through the center to the other end. So this right here is our diameter. We're going to use the formula. If you want to, use the formula that gives you diameter. So we can write that down. Plug in what you know. So we're going to do... No, I put a 3. We're going to do 26 divided by 2 and then square it. So always think of orders of operations. Always do your parentheses first. 26 divided by 2, that's 13. Guys, that's giving you the radius. So if you automatically want to look at the diameter and say, oh, let me cut this in half, the radius is 13, then again, you could use your original equation if you want to. So now we're squaring 13 and we still have to multiply it by 3.14. So 13 times 13 is 169. 169 times 3.14 gives you an area of this circle of 530.66. And let's see what our units are again. I can't see them. Inches squared. That's our area. Remember, squaring means we're taking that number and multiplying it by itself. Don't do 13 times 2. You should have done 13 times 13. All right, we got one more example down here. What if I want you to find the area of a semicircle? Guys, remember, what's the relationship of a semicircle to a full circle? It is half of it. So if we find the area of a semicircle, we want to find the area and then divide it by 2 because we only have half of the circle. So let's look at this. We want to find the orchestra pit. So this right here, it's giving us this 30 feet. That is our diameter. If you want to think about it, if the diameter is 30, what would half of it be? What would our radius be? 30 divided by 2 is 15. So let's use that in our equation. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So we're squaring 15, multiplying by 3.14. So 3.14 times 15 times 15. This gives us the area of the full circle. But again, I only want half of it, so we still have to divide that by 2. So the area of half, or the area of this orchestra pit, which is half of a circle, the semicircle, is 353.25 feet squared. All right, group, that was 3 examples we did together. I took our time. I went through it slowly. Hopefully you were writing with me. Rewatch this as many times as you need to. Again, your key equations. You have 2 equations up here that you need to know. Okay, as long as you know this first one, that's the one I always just remember. But again, if you are given the diameter, you have to know how to find the radius if you are only using the first one. Otherwise, make sure you have both of these written down somewhere. If you're keeping a chapter 8 notes written on scrap paper somewhere, keep that handy for you when you go and do the exit slips and the big ideas so that they are there for you.